He used to be an ultimate hard-working corporate slave whose sole dream was to save enough money to open a company of his own, but one day, he worked overtime through the night until he suddenly dropped dead, and while the good news was that he finally became a CEO, the bad news was that he had transmigrated into a melodrama novel as a domineering CEO who specialized in forcing himself upon the female lead, the kind of character who ultimately cornered her only to get stabbed by her in the end. Inside the CEO's office, a cold beauty was stripped down until only her thermal underwear remained, trembling all over as her bloodshot eyes glared bitterly at him, and she asked, "Is this enough? Are you satisfied now?" According to the original plot, the domineering CEO he had transmigrated into should have crossed his legs, flashed a wicked smirk, and told her, "Keep going," before completing the very first steamy scene of the novel, successfully pushing the female lead's hatred bar to the absolute maximum and initiating a cycle of forced coercion, which would ultimately lead to her teaming up with a younger lover to destroy his company and gift him a fatal stab wound. But this simply would not do. He had worked so hard to finally become an owner, so he certainly did not want to die, and his company could not be allowed to collapse either. He leaned back against the sofa, adopting a cold and arrogant expression while his mind raced wildly, and asked, "Have you ever heard of the Arctic Human brand? As it turns out, you are very suitable to be the spokesperson for their thermal clothing line." The female lead stopped trembling and stared at him in utter bewilderment, so he continued, "Aren't you in urgent need of money? Although the pay for this commercial isn't much, it can solve your immediate pressing needs." In the story, the female lead was a top student who relied on scholarships, but during a speech at her university, someone took a picture of her and posted it online, making her wildly famous overnight due to her breathtaking beauty, and right at that time, her mother fell gravely ill, forcing her to sign a contract with him to officially enter the entertainment industry out of a desperate need for cash. "Did you make me strip just for this?" She looked at him with a complex expression and complained, "Then why didn't you just say so directly? What was the point of threatening me with freezing my activities if I didn't strip?" This domineering CEO really can't get anything done right. He put on an immensely heartbroken look and lamented, "Young people these days are truly something. Everyone turns their nose up at thermal underwear commercials. Do you have any idea how many contacts I had to reach out to just to secure this contract for you?" He stood up, walked over to help the female lead pick up her fallen sweater from the floor along with her hat, socks, and down jacket, and advised, "You've just stepped into this industry, so you don't understand how difficult it is to get an exposure opportunity. Yes, I truly wanted to win this chance for you." He intended to pat her shoulder, but unfortunately, his hands were carrying too many clothes to have one free, so the female lead blankly took the pile of clothing from his arms, to which he replied, "You're welcome, Miss Sato. You can go back first, as you still have a lot to learn after entering this circle." He turned his back to her and let out a deeply profound and unfathomable sigh, and the female lid nodded, leaving with an expression as if she had just absorbed a major life lesson. Having concluded his first encounter with the female lead, he finally could no longer hold it in and burst into 3 loud laughs. It took him a mere 10 seconds to accept the reality that he had transmigrated into a domineering CEO, and then he immediately began auditing his assets. He was eager to inspect his wealth as well as the current business status of the company, which was a film and media production agency with a market value of merely tens of millions of yen. And with such a minuscule scale, he genuinely could not understand how the previous domineering CEO in the story managed to sleep soundly on his high pillow without worrying about focusing on career development, instead indulging in meaningless romantic entanglements all day long. He resolved to show everyone how he would transform this domineering CEO's company into one of the top 500 strongest enterprises in the world. He called his assistant into the office, finally getting the chance to utter that classic line from domineering CEO literature, "Within 3 minutes, I want all the information on that woman from just now." His assistant, Wakabayashi, asked while breaking out in a cold sweat, "Do you mean Miss Sato? I haven't finished organizing her files yet. Would 30 minutes be all right?" He replied, "Sending it to me within 3 hours will be fine." Since Sato was the female lead, she was undoubtedly the absolute darling of fortune in this world, and as the female lead, her popularity was bound to explode, meaning that focusing on nurturing her was the very first stepping stone to help his company take off. Wakabayashi then added, "There is one more thing. Tonight you have a social networking dinner with director Takahashi and a few producers at the Grand Hongni Club at 7 o'clock in the evening. Do you need to bring anyone along this time?" He answered, "No, there's no need. I will go by myself." In his past life, he was merely a low-ranking corporate slave with little voice. So during such social gatherings, he could only pour drinks for others or take shots on behalf of his boss. And having lived the life of a working ox and horse, he naturally understood this pain intimately. But this time, it was finally his turn to sit in the main host seat as an investor, so he wanted to see who would dare force him to drink now. The private room at the Grand Hongni Club was exceptionally luxurious, illuminated by glittering gilded chandeliers and stocked with bottles of wine worth hundreds of millions each, which was on an entirely different level compared to the gatherings he had attended before, proving that the power of money was truly sweet. As he wondered why every dish was prepared so exquisitely and deliciously, he toasted and drained his glass alongside the directors and producers, listening to director Takahashi talk about everything from Eastern and Western film studies to recent market trends in short dramas, and from side rumors at international film festivals to new faces in the industry, creating an extremely harmonious atmosphere, except these directors certainly talked a lot and showed no intention of leaving anytime soon. Director Takahashi remarked, "I heard that President Sato recently signed a few newcomers. Why didn't you bring them here today for us to take a look?" He thought to himself, bring them here for what? As those newly signed kids were all born after 2000, barely 19 or 20 years old, with naive and foolish written clearly across their foreheads. So bringing them here would only result in them eating food. And since he didn't need young kids to take drinks for him, why bring them along at all? So he flattered, "Director Takahashi, who are you if not a giant pillar of the film industry? With your refined vision, wouldn't bringing my company's newcomers here just make a fool out of us in front of you, and wouldn't it be terrible if they offended you?" Having been a corporate slave for so long, these polite pleasantries came naturally to his lips, but director Takahashi narrowed his eyes as his face darkened and countered. "The quality of the rookies signed by your agency over the past 2 years has been very high. In fact, 2 days ago I looked over someone named... What was her name again?" The man feigned contemplation while tapping his fingers on the tabletop, before adding, "I think her name was Suzuki, and isn't there also Sato? They are all quite decent, so when will President Sato bring them over for me to inspect?" Damn it! He finally understood that this old man was ordering off a menu right in front of him. He suddenly recalled director Takahashi's character setup in the novel, where he was a famous director who was simultaneously infamous for his wild, debauched lifestyle and perverted nature, acting as a convenient plot tool for the domineering CEO to threaten the female lead whenever she disobeyed. He scanned the dinner table and noticed that the other producers were also casually or deliberately looking over with knowing smiles, making him wonder if he punched this old man in the face for treating a grand CEO like a pimp. Would the police arrest him? However, the company still had several ongoing projects in collaboration with him, so he couldn't afford to lose millions right after taking over. Looking at director Takahashi's red, fleshy face, he made up his mind, grabbed the old man's hand, and exclaimed, "Oh my, Director Takahashi! Although our company's rookies are indeed pretty, how could they possibly have your depth? Just now you were telling me about the Garden of Eden, the desert, and the conflict between community and individual, which fascinated me immensely. So how about you stay at the hotel later to explain it to me in greater detail?" As his hand caressed down the old man's thigh, director Takahashi jumped up in sheer horror and stammered, "Well, President Sato, it's getting late, and my wife is still waiting for me at home, so I will take my leave now." He called out, "Hey, wait! It's barely any time at all, and I even have a VIP room at this hotel." Director Takahashi bolted straight out without daring to look back, and who would have thought that such a chubby body could move so fast? Looking at the remaining people with a face full of regret, he asked, "Is there anyone else among you?" They hurriedly excused themselves, saying, "My child at home is waiting for me to feed them milk, and my stomach hurts terribly. I must rush to the hospital." He had only teased them a little bit, yet they were already scared to this extent, despite him having an actual 8-pack set of abs. After the banquet ended, he stood in the restroom washing his hands repeatedly. Noting that even the restrooms in this high-end club used expensive essential oils, yet the fragrance still could not suppress the rising surge of nausea inside him. Had he known, he wouldn't have eaten so much earlier. As the primary investor for this project, that old man still dared to blatantly order off a menu right in front of his face, proving that this kind of transactional benefit exchange had existed for a long time. So he thought that maybe he should abandon entering the world's top 500 and just run away early with the money for his own good. "President Sato!" Sato's familiar female voice echoed from behind him as she appeared wearing a light blue modern top paired with light yellow trousers, which was the standard staff uniform of the club, yet she wore it with an air of pure elegance and grace, proving that she was indeed the female lead. No wonder the original domineering CEO fell for her. He asked, "You're about to shoot a commercial soon, so why are you still working part-time here?" She replied, "Today is my last day. The commercial pay isn't received that quickly, and I still need to pay for medical expenses and rent, so I must have an income." She gripped her shirt hem tightly with both hands, looking at him with slight nervousness, so he asked, "Are you off work yet?" She answered, "Yes, my shift just happened to end." He loosened his tie and requested, "I've been drinking and lack a driver. Can you help drive me home?" She complied, "All right, then I will go change my clothes right away." Hold on, that's not right, he thought to himself. Wasn't the female lead in the original work supposed to be very smart, so if she acted like this, how could he feel at ease letting her navigate the entertainment industry? She ought to have refused immediately, so he scolded. "It is past 10 o'clock at night, and when a man asks you to take him home, doesn't such an obvious implication cross your mind?" Panicking, she tried to explain, I didn't mean it like that." He cut her off. "Even if you didn't mean it like that, if he wanted to do something to you, could you even escape?" Flustered, she stammered, I didn't think that far ahead." He instructed, quote, "In the future, you will have to attend many social gatherings, so whenever you encounter a situation like this, regardless of who the other party is, you must reject them flatly. Do you hear me?" She immediately straightened up and replied seriously, "Yes, loud and clear." Satisfied with her receptiveness, he nodded and said, "Go home early. You are going to be very busy in the future." He turned and left without noticing the probing gaze of the female lead behind him, resolving to enjoy the feeling of being a boss for a while longer, because given her current naive state, she might vanish into thin air before long. Over the next few months, he instructed his staff to arrange all kinds of acting and diction classes for Sato, taking on any suitable role regardless of whether it was a main or supporting character, successfully making her as busy as a spinning top. On one hand, he wanted her to progress quickly, while on the other hand, it was to ensure she had no time for romance, since in the novel, the domineering CEO's company was ruined by her young boyfriend, so he had to take preventative measures. The previous thermal underwear commercial had created a massive contrast with her cold, intellectual scholar image, generating huge discussion and attracting a large number of casual fans, producing surprisingly good results. Today was the opening ceremony for her new drama, which was her biggest role to date, so he came in person to back her up and prevent her from being bullied by the crew. Seeing how Sato had matured significantly compared to a few months ago, radiating a calmer and more confident aura, he suddenly felt a playful sensation similar to playing a character-raising game, proving that a top student remained a top student wherever she went. The joy brought by this sense of achievement lasted all the way until the evening, when he walked down into the company's underground parking garage to drive his Maybach home, only to discover a fair-skinned, long-legged woman leaning against his car. In the middle of the night, he wondered what kind of horror movie setup this was, standing around pretending to be a ghost to scare people without knowing how long she had been posing there. "President Sato, really now, have you ever seen a female ghost as beautiful as me?" The woman stepped forward coquettishly, but he warned, "Don't come any closer." She batted her eyelashes and flirted, "President Sato, do you have any plans for tonight?" He mentally reviewed his evening schedule, realizing he had 2 projects to review and a management book to read, as managing a company for the first time made him nervous enough to fear going bankrupt from a single mistake, requiring him to learn more. He asked, "Miss Tanaka, do you have any other business? If not, I will be leaving first." Tanaka stopped twisting her hair and asked in shock, You know who I am?" He replied, "I have an impression of most artists in my company, and it seems you haven't taken a new acting role in a long time, right?" She pressed her chest against him and pleaded pitifully, "So President Sato knows I have no acting gigs to take? Then please help me out. I will do whatever you ask." He thought to himself, using this trick again to test human nature? He tried to pull his arm back, but she held on tight like a drowning person clutching a piece of driftwood, refusing to let go. He let out a sigh and began his usual artist educational lecture. "Miss Tanaka, turning yourself into a transaction and a bargaining chip like this is completely wrong, as it easily brings negative news upon yourself and makes it easy for others to grab leverage against you. She is an artist under my company, so as long as it is within my capability, I will help." He added, "Aren't you being instigated by someone? Is your manager refusing to let you accept acting roles?" Tanaka was stunned and asked, "Why would I take orders from someone else to do something that harms the company's interests like this?" Tanaka suddenly suffered an emotional breakdown and burst into tears, sobbing. "Wah! My manager keeps forcing me to go out and entertain clients by pouring drinks, and because I refuse to go, he won't let me take on any work. I thought you knew about this, but were intentionally giving it your tacit approval. I haven't been able to join a filming crew for nearly a year now, so I truly had no other options left. Yes, so that's why I came here today to try my luck. Because compared to entertaining those old men, I'd rather entertain you. Congratulations to the domineering CEO for winning among the old men." Wait, that wasn't right. Did his company actually have such an unprofessional manager? He asked, "What is your manager's name?" She answered, "Watanabe." He replied, "I remember now. I will change your manager for you, and if the situation is indeed as you described, I will fire him directly. Do you have any other requests?" He handed her a piece of tissue, and she responded, "No, nothing else, thank you." Tanaka wiped away her smudged eyeshadow and gradually calmed down, saying, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken to you like that just now." He let out a sigh, realizing he had been far too careless. The person who deserved to be scolded the most was actually himself, as he had held too high of an expectation regarding the moral standards and professional competence of the original domineering CEO. Because of the novel's plot, he had always focused too heavily on the female lead's career, almost forgetting that he was currently managing an entire company. This was a result of poor management on his part, making it his problem, so he vowed to swiftly resolve similar issues within the company. Standing on the moral high ground to criticize others was the easiest thing to do, but actually being able to solve the problem was the real core. Tanaka was stunned for a moment and stammered, No, not at all, President Rokuda. You are completely right. Tonight was just too abrupt on my part." "Can I ask you a personal question, President Rokuda? Do you have a girlfriend?" Tanaka's face seemed to turn even redder, making him wonder why the topic had suddenly shifted in this direction. Before he could answer, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind. It was Sato. The classic novel scenario where the male lead causes the female lead and the cannon fodder female side character to meet and become jealous was actually happening in this setting. Tonight's parking garage was truly lively, but hopefully it wouldn't be caught by paparazzi. Sato and Tanaka greeted each other warmly, and Tanaka said, "President Rokuda, I already told Sato my story, and she was actually the one who told me to come ask you for help." He was genuinely curious about what exact words Sato had used with her that made her interpret it as this kind of plea. Looking at Sato dressed in casual clothes and noticing she had lost quite a bit of weight, he asked, "Did you come over here for something?" Sato pursed her lips, looked at him, and insisted, "President Rokuda, you should answer Tanaka's question first." What a perfect opportunity this scene was to prevent the female lead from falling in love. He said seriously, "I am currently in a career advancement phase, so I will not be looking for a girlfriend for the time being," he added. "The same goes for you. Although it isn't written in the contract, right now is also a crucial period for your career development. So you cannot fall in love and get distracted." Tanaka asked, "President Rokuda, then can I fall in love?" He answered, "It's up to you as long as you manage public opinion well." He found it strange because when she signed the contract with the company, Shouldn't her manager have already covered this issue? Tanaka gave Sato a meaningful look, showing that they had definitely taken his words to heart. He nodded in satisfaction, pleased that his employees were so sensible, reassuring himself that as a boss, he could rest easy. He then asked Sato, "That's right, so why were you looking for me?" In truth, he felt a bit guilty, fearing she might scold him for exploiting her labor. Sato replied with a sincere expression, "I came to thank you for specially coming to attend the opening ceremony of my new drama today." This time, he felt both startled and guilty, promising, "Once this drama finishes filming, I will arrange some vacation time for you. You've worked hard during this past period," Sato responded. "There's no need, President Rokuda. I am doing this willingly. Since I chose to enter this industry, I want to do the absolute best I can, and I definitely won't make you regret your choice." With such a great employee, his luck was truly amazing. He thought, "All right, since she put it that way, I can only exploit her with peace of mind. Does she really not want a break? How I wish someone would give me a 2-day break instead." Over the following period, he also intensified his own workload, starting by screening the company's management team once over. Without auditing, one would never know. But it turned out there were actually managers who dared to make dual shadow contracts, causing the company to bear legal risks. They were truly skilled. In this novel, even without the female lead's young boyfriend causing destruction, the domineering CEO's company probably would have collapsed on its own, wouldn't it? Terrified, he dragged the entire company down into continuous departmental meetings for several days to rectify everything. It had to be said that holding meetings as a big boss was genuinely satisfying. In fact, before transmigrating here, he had worked hard to climb up to a minor managerial role, but he had to flatter big bosses above while managing a team below, making him busier than regular employees. At that time, the thing he found most incomprehensible was how a big boss who had long been detached from technical expertise could possess the confidence to talk aimlessly about the technical direction of subordinates. Was flexing authority more important than actual results? Now sitting in the main host seat of the conference room, he still couldn't understand his former boss's grandstanding. By delegating decision-making power to experts, he could quietly relax his mind, at most giving a final nod of approval to finish up. He knew full well that his biggest advantage was knowing the novel's plot in advance, allowing him to stay one step ahead in investments, but the novel's plot only lasted until the female lead won the Golden Horse Award, without falling for the domineering CEO, ultimately leading to the furious CEO locking her up and restricting her personal freedom, which forcibly ended her career and halted all descriptions of the entertainment industry, causing his advantage to disappear. However, by that time, he probably would have satisfied his urge to run a company and earned enough money to lie back and enjoy life. Thinking about a seaside villa and global travel. Oh, he wanted to take a vacation too. The manager beside him asked nervously, "President Rokuda, were you dissatisfied with the report I just presented?" He was presenting an evaluation of artists who were preparing to sign contracts recently. He hurriedly cross-referenced the name and declared, "Hasegawa. I want to sign Hasegawa." Hasegawa was the domineering CEO's romantic rival in the book, a current A-list star and a future best actor. Because they were on the same level, he was also one of the biggest rivals who made the domineering CEO feel the greatest sense of threat. However, rumor had it that he was currently in a very fierce conflict with his former agency and had recently been exposed to a lot of scandals, so recruiting him now would carry a huge risk. He asked which company is he currently signed with. The manager answered, "Huanshin Entertainment," he replied. "Then that's easy to handle." Their boss was Takashi Sugimoto, who happened to be one of the domineering Seeing AO's bad friends in the original work, so regarding Hasegawa's current chaotic situation, it was merely a matter of a single phone call. Takashi Sugimoto released him very generously, but didn't miss a single penny of the required amount. Originally, their contract had no issues. It was just that Takashi Sugimoto was intentionally holding him back. Initially, Hasegawa didn't even want to come over and only agreed to sign with the company after repeatedly confirming his sexual orientation. A few months later, the female lead's new drama aired, and just as he predicted, the show became an explosive hit. Although Sato played a villainous supporting female role, she portrayed the character with incredible delicacy and depth. There were many reasons why people committed bad deeds. It could be due to being pushed into a corner, forced by circumstances, or knowingly doing evil. And her role was the type that easily evoked empathy and resonance from viewers. The discussion surrounding her character even surpassed that of the main protagonist, helping Sato successfully break through boundaries as a flood of variety shows, commercial deals, and endorsements poured in, just from the investment in this drama alone. Combined with revenue from other projects during this period, the company's market value had doubled. His invitations to social dinners grew more and more frequent, to the point where eating and drinking so much almost made his domineering CEO body's 8-pack abs vanish entirely. Ultimately, he chose a dinner party with acquaintances and brought Sato along, taking the opportunity to help her expand her network. However, he didn't expect there to be such a mood killer at this gathering. "Sato, following President Rokuda means your future is bound to be boundless. I am producer Kuroda, come drink a glass with me. And whenever I have a new script in the future, I'll come to you first." He looked at the drunk, red-faced man sitting opposite him, with barely any hair left on his head, thinking the man was truly overestimating himself, as his movies were terribly made and his eye for talent was equally atrocious. Before he could speak, Sato stood up elegantly with her wine glass and praised, "You are completely right. Our President Rokuda is indeed a very good boss, as well as an investor with incredible vision. None of the movies he invested in have ever lost money, and even my current explosive drama was chosen for me by President Rokuda himself." He couldn't help but feel secretly thrilled inside. Seeing the other directors and investors at the table turn their gaze toward him simultaneously, Sato continued, "If I am to act in your movie, I still have to see whether our President Rokuda approves of it or not. Or perhaps you can tell us what notable achievements your recent works have had. Who knows, maybe President Rokuda will invest in you later." This man primarily directed web movies, failing several times in a row to the point of becoming the king of trash films. And today he was only able to sit here because another director friend kindly brought him along. He was probably constantly looking for an opportunity to strike up a conversation with him, which was why he intentionally approached through Sato this time. Ignoring the other party's pale green face, Sato took a sip of wine, sat down elegantly, and stated, "I'll drink first, please feel free." That was truly the female lead's aura. This time he felt immense pride. Afterward, the friend who brought Kuroda hurriedly smoothed things over and pressed him back into his seat, making it clear that this friend probably wouldn't dare bring him along casually in the future. Who knew how many friends this Kuroda had left to squander their trust on? Stepping out of the venue, the night wind blew away some of the heavy incense scent, making one feel thoroughly refreshed. The club used a very high-end woody fragrance, which was indeed pleasant, but staying in it for too long easily made people dizzy. Sato asked with a bit of worry, "President Rokuda, I didn't say anything wrong at the table just now, did I? Did I cause trouble for you?" He reassured her, "Rest assured, today's dinner was just to take you out for a better meal, as you've lost too much weight recently. Directors with good vision will naturally select you for roles that suit you, whereas for unsuitable roles, even if I spent money to shoehorn you in, the final result wouldn't be good anyway, so just maintain a normal mindset with everyone." Looking at the now more mature Sato, his mood felt extremely relaxed, and Sato smiled brightly with the aura of a female star, her eyes gentle yet laced with a hint of ambition, displaying two distinct dimples on her cheeks as she smiled and said, "Thank you, President Rokuda. I will work even harder." His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Was this because of the novel's setup, where the domineering CEO was destined to be attracted to the female lead? A voice called out, "Riku, what a coincidence. I invited you out to play so many times, and you never came. Turns out, you have a beauty by your side and are having so much fun, you forgot your way back home." The eye contact between him and Sato was broken as two people walked over from not far away. It was Takashi Sugimoto holding a young man in his arms. Upon closer inspection, the young man kept his face lowered and seemed to be crying, looking quite young at around 20 years old. He asked Sato, "Ryuta? Sato, do you know him?" She answered, "He was in the same filming crew with me before, and since he was a newcomer, he even came to consult me on acting issues." Takashi Sugimoto displayed a mischievous smirk on his face and mocked, "Then it truly is fate. Who would have thought that my little kid here happens to know your companion tonight? Ryuta suddenly became extremely agitated and pleaded, "Please, everyone, save me! He wants to force himself on me." Before he could even finish speaking, Takashi Sugimoto punched him in the stomach, causing Ryuta to groan softly in pain and double over, only to be held tightly by the shoulders by Takashi Sugimoto, who kept the unchanged smile on his face and said casually, "Sorry, my brother, to make you watch a joke. The new item I just picked up hasn't been trained to be obedient yet." He felt a chill run through his entire body, realizing belatedly that in the social class he currently occupied, the rules of money and power could trample over the law and treat human beings as nothing. The original body owner was a domineering CEO who was essentially made from the same mold as this man, whereas he himself was originally just an ordinary working employee hustling for money and suffering oppression under money and power, making it impossible for him to truly sympathize with this identity. Were these rules really right? If he now possessed the power to break these rules, why not give it a try? He stepped forward and demanded, "Let him go!" Takashi Sugimoto retorted, "Riku, I yielded the previous person to you, so don't compete with me over this one." The previous person was Hasegawa. No wonder when he went to talk with Hasegawa, the man was as terrified as a bird startled by a bowstring. Turns out he had been tormented to the point of psychological trauma. Feeling unprecedented outrage, he sneered sarcastically. "It seems that one person after another isn't voluntarily following you, President Chang. For someone with so much money to have no one like him, President Chang is truly a bit pitiful. But to want someone and still have to resort to these tactics, just how insecure must you be inside?" Takashi Sugimoto's face changed as he barked, "Damn it, Riku, are you crazy? Playing around with women has turned your brain to mush? How dare you meddle in my business?" He stepped forward, shielding Sato, and declared, "First of all, he is my employee, so speak with some respect. Secondly, I am definitely saving this person. Do you want to be beaten up by me before releasing him, or will you voluntarily let him go right now?" Takashi Sugimoto pushed Ryuta away forcefully, swung a punch, and cursed, "Damn it! You think I'm afraid of you?" A huge advantage of the Grand Hongni Club, where everyone who came was rich and noble, was that customer privacy protection was extremely good, and furthermore, since the other party struck first, this was a fantastic opportunity for a fight. Although the opponent was also a prominent figure, how could a domineering CEO lose a fight? He vented all his previous frustration onto the man, and 10 minutes later, Takashi Sugimoto nursed his bruised and battered face, glaring fiercely at him while threatening. "You just wait for me. Don't think your hands are so clean. Your company has a lot of movies waiting for censorship review recently, right? Let me tell you, whether they pass or not takes just a single word from me, so I hope you don't regret it when the time comes." Seeing that the man still had the strength to make threats, which meant he hadn't been beaten enough, he dusted off his hands and stepped forward again, prompting Takashi Sugimoto to quickly get into his car and speed away. What a wimp! He hadn't even vented all his anger yet. After this incident, he established 2 regulations for all artists in the company. First, no artist was required to entertain clients or pour drinks. Second, if they encountered an unwritten rule situation, they could directly report it to the company, which would terminate cooperation with the other party while simultaneously reporting it to the relevant authorities. Then he would simply use magic to beat magic. A single person like him couldn't change this entertainment circle, so he would try his best to prevent this circle from changing them. As for Takashi Sugimoto's threat, he didn't care much at all. After all, the male lead in a novel could only lose to the female lead, so how could he possibly fall to a male side character? As for Ryuta, he was originally a trainee who signed with Takashi Sugimoto's company, and not long after making his debut, he was targeted. He originally intended to help him pay the contract termination fee first in order to bring him to his own company. But after thanking him profusely, Ryuta declined, saying that he still had things to do. He didn't quite understand, but soon he no longer had the mind to care about him anyway, because Takashi Sugimoto's revenge came faster than he thought. Wakabayashi reported, "President Rokuda, today's entertainment news posted an article claiming that an artist from our company is accused of tax evasion, which is definitely the work of those previously fired senior executives and managers." He added, "President Rokuda, director Takahashi's movie Chang'an, was notified yesterday that its censorship review was suspended under the pretext of needing further document verification, and Tanaka's new TV drama has also been halted from broadcasting. He thought to himself, "Not bad. Takashi Sugimoto's connections were quite broad indeed." Wakabayashi continued, "The photos of you in the club's parking garage with two girls were taken by someone and posted online with the headline, 'The Secret Love History of the Domineering CEO, Making the Old Flame Choke with Tears for the New Love.'" Regarding Takashi Sugimoto's overwhelming revenge, he chose to have all employees lie low and stay put. Those news articles only named people very vaguely, so fans of various artists all transformed into famous detectives, trying to piece together the truth from a mix of real and fake events. Without a single artist voluntarily posting a clarification, netizens selected their own targets to attack as they pleased. Rumors about Rokuta Media's artists evading taxes spread wider and wider, causing intense public outrage and calls for relevant authorities to strictly investigate. He naturally welcomed this very much, but even after relevant authorities investigated the company from top to bottom, they couldn't find any issues at all. Later, the official side published the investigation results, and after the official announcement was released, netizens gradually realized that they had probably been led by the nose. However, because public concern regarding tax evasion was very high, the artists from his company who were suspected the most actually took advantage of this opportunity to gain a large number of fans. But since his company had already been investigated once, he naturally had to invite them to investigate his rival's company as well, hoping that Takashi Sugimoto's Hwanshin Entertainment could withstand this investigation. As for the censorship issues of those movies and shows, not only were director Takahashi's movie and Tanaka's new TV drama stuck in censorship, but even several variety shows under his company were more or less affected. It seemed Takashi Sugimoto indeed had some skills. After reassuring numerous anxious producers and film investors, he decided to travel to Santorini to relax a bit. He had originally offered Sato a vacation as well, but as a result, she voluntarily signed up for extra training classes. Was this what a top student was like? Lying on the black sand beach and gazing at the sparkling waters of the Aegean Sea, he suddenly felt that traveling alone was a bit dull. The sound of waves crashing against the rocks made him feel a bit annoyed, for seeing the deep blue Aegean Sea made him think of her, and seeing the white volcanic rocks also made him think of her. While he was hesitating whether to call Sato to reassure her and tell her to rest assured that the company wouldn't collapse, he finally received a phone call from Ryuta. He asked, "How is it? Have you investigated everything clearly, big journalist Ryuta?" Ryuta answered, "I've investigated it clearly." Investigating in Takashi Sugimoto's direction, as expected, revealed that he has transactions with the Film Bureau and the Broadcasting Association, engaging in under-the-table deals. I originally only wanted to investigate the trainee issue in Hwanshin Entertainment, but I didn't expect to have such a huge, unexpected harvest. Thank you so much, President Rokuta. Ryuta's voice clearly revealed his deep emotion. He replied, "No need to be polite. Once you finish writing the article, post it with confidence, as I guarantee your article won't be taken down," Ryuta asked. "That's right, President Rokuta. Don't you already know my real name is Yamashita? Why do you still call me Ryuta?" He thought, perhaps because this name held more commemorative significance? In truth, it was because he was the female lead's young boyfriend in the original work. So, hearing that real name made him feel a bit uncomfortable. Ryuta said excitedly, "So that's how it is. Then in the future, I will use Ryuta as my pen name." Previously, after being saved by him, Ryuta had revealed his real name and his undercover plan to him. Hwanshin Entertainment's trainee training project was actually a scam that collected training fees and forced them to sign contracts with extremely high termination penalties. This legal type of scam had ruined several families, yet it had never been exposed. Acting as a spy, Ryuta had infiltrated Hwanshin Entertainment to investigate and gather evidence, never expecting that somehow he would catch Takashi Sugimoto's eye, while simultaneously digging up even deeper hidden secrets inside. Ryuta had originally intended to continue entangling with Takashi Sugimoto for a bit longer, not expecting that Takashi Sugimoto would want to use strong-arm tactics to force him. That night, when he saved Ryuta, Ryuta had secretly recorded numerous accumulated crimes, so without him even needing to take action, the man would definitely serve time in prison. As for him, he only needed to let these truths be exposed and seen by more people. It was time to return. After Ryuta's article was published, it caused a massive uproar, with major media outlets reporting on it heavily, one after another. Numerous artists from Hwansin Entertainment were suspected of tax evasion. The trainee training scam was exposed, raising the question of whether it was cultivating poison or building dreams. The senior management of Hwansin Entertainment had improper transactions with the censorship department. Artists from Hwansin Entertainment terminated their contracts en masse, trending on social media. Among the top 10 hot searches, more than half were related to Hwansin Entertainment, and even if they wanted to take down the trending topics, they couldn't. However, Takashi Sugimoto hid himself within these incidents. On the second day after he returned to the country, he received a phone call from Takashi Sugimoto, who barked, "Riku, you're cruel enough." "Was Ryuta intentionally arranged by you?" He countered, "Has President Chang played around with young boys to the point of turning brain dead? You chose the person yourself, and you committed the acts yourself, so what does that have to do with me?" "That's right, President Chang. You must be very busy lately, right? You must take care of your health, as your tough battle hasn't even arrived yet, so don't fall down prematurely." Even with ironclad evidence, it was still possible for Takashi Sugimoto to escape from this mud pit. If it weren't for him, wouldn't it just be calling people for help? If Takashi Sugimoto knew how to call people, he naturally knew how as well, since he was a domineering CEO after all. While relevant departments immediately filed a case to investigate Takashi Sugimoto, Hasegawa's movie was still screened normally and received very good feedback. He didn't know if it was thanks to this movie that Hasegawa won Best Actor, but it was probably coming soon. Sato accepted a new drama collaborating with Tanaka, where the two were rivals in the show, yet their chemistry was surprisingly stronger than that between the male and female leads. One carried a dominant older sister aura, while the other was gentle and refined. Plus, their real-life relationship was very good, as they frequently went shopping and ate together. The behind-the-scenes interactions captured by people and posted online automatically dispelled the previous rumors about new and old flames, giving their fan-created duo the name Yamada and Sato. As the primary investor for this drama, he finally realized that after personally saving all the male romantic rivals in the story, he had personally found himself a female romantic rival. Lying flat on the high-end leather sofa in his office, he let out a sigh, thinking that among domineering CEOs, there was truly no one else like him. Sato walked in holding a stack of documents and a cup of coffee, asking, quote, "President Rokuda, didn't the company just complete a new round of fundraising? Why do you like to sigh so much?" He hurriedly sat up straight, acted serious, and said, "It's nothing, just a minor matter." Sato noted, "President Rokuda, just now you were watching fan-edited video clips of me and Tanaka, right?" He chuckled, "Ah, yes, haha. That's great, you two look very well matched, and I'm not jealous at all." Sato burst out laughing and remarked, "Is that so? Too bad Tanaka likes younger puppy dog type handsome guys." Looking at her, he asked, "Then what about you? What kind of person do you like?" Sato paused for a moment, looked at him intently for a few seconds, then shifted her eyes away, pushing the stack of documents in her hand toward him as she stated, "I came to invite you to participate in my variety show as a guest. Take a look at these documents." Seeing her dodge the question, he lowered his head to flip through the materials, which revealed a travel show with Sato and Tanaka as permanent cast members. He commented, "So both you and Tanaka are participating in this show? Isn't that great? So why make me go as well?" She urged, "No, not at all. You only need to come as a guest for one day, while the main focus will still be me, Tanaka, and other artists." He reluctantly found a reason, asking, "Are you two overdoing the fan service duo hype?" Sato whispered to him, "Rest assured, President Rokuda, Tanaka actually has a boyfriend." He replied, "Aha, all right then, send me the time and location and I will schedule it." The episode of the travel reality show he participated in happened to be filmed in an ancient town in Tangchong, which was a rustic and pleasant place right during the season, when rapeseed flowers bloomed in full, covering everything in a golden yellow. Only upon arriving did he learn that because artists from his company frequently mentioned him on shows, the boss of Rokuta Media already had a certain level of online discussion. Combined with previous rumors involving him, Tanaka, and Sato, along with the popularity of the duo hype, the director had specially invited him for an interview. It wasn't that Sato had wanted to invite him. The interviewer asked, "Previously, someone online captured photos of you together with Tanaka and Sato in the underground parking garage. Is that true?" He answered, "It is true, but the rumors are false. At that time, I was discussing her manager's issue with Tanaka, which I won't explain much further here." The interviewer continued, "According to data, the movies and dramas you invested in and produced are almost all hit works. When selecting scripts, do you have any secret or unique perspective?" He replied, "I just rely on intuition," since he had read the plot in advance. The interviewer pressed, "Hearing Sato say that you regulate artists in the company so they don't need to entertain clients or pour drinks and reject unwritten rules, do you have any thoughts on this?" He answered, "I don't have any special thoughts, as it should have been this way originally." The interviewer asked, "Do you currently have a girlfriend?" The interview was originally scheduled to end at 9 o'clock, but on the night of filming, it was already wrapped up by 8 o'clock. He ordered late-night snacks for everyone, planning to leave the next day. Sato led him to his room, which was located in a rather remote spot, quite far from the filming location. Along the way, they engaged in a few random sentences of casual chatter, and Sato asked, "President Rokuta, why did you speak so little during the show's filming today?" He replied, "I don't have much experience being a public figure, so the more I speak, the more mistakes I make." In truth, he was secretly sulking inside. As the night wind blew past, blending with the scent of soil and rapeseed flowers, his heart gradually settled back down. He felt a bit regretful that he hadn't managed his emotions well today. Sato suddenly spoke up. "President Rokuta." Her voice was abruptly cut short by rapid footsteps. "Riku, go to hell!" A person suddenly rushed out from behind, and thanks to the dim streetlight, he clearly saw the twisted face of the attacker. Holding a knife in his hand, it was none other than Takashi Sugimoto. Wasn't he under investigation? As the man lunged fiercely, he only had time to pull Sato behind his back to protect her, as it turned out when a knife blade pierced the body. The first sensation was freezing coldness, followed only then by pain. Having been stabbed in the waist, he endured the pain, clutched his wound, threw a heavy punch, and kicked the man away. The man scrambled up awkwardly, still wanting to charge forward again, but as a result, Sato rushed out from behind him and delivered a spinning hook kick that knocked the man down. He wanted to laugh, but the wound hurt so much that his vision gradually turned blurry. Seeing Sato run toward him and hold him tightly in her arms, he cursed in his mind that a plot this collapsed still forced the domineering CEO to get stabbed to death. What a bastard outcome. But dying in the female lead's arms was also worth it. Sato cried, "It's all my fault! I shouldn't have suggested to the director to invite you over. At that time, I wanted to tell you that I've liked you for a very long time, but I knew full well the distance between you and me was too great, and I didn't have the qualification to stand beside you yet. That's why I never dared to tell you, fearing you'd misunderstand that I wanted to use you. I wanted you to wait for me, and it was my own greed. Please wake up quickly, you promised me." But he didn't want her to wait, so he struggled to turn his head, looking into Sato's red, tear-filled eyes. Sato shouted, Doctor, President Rokuta is awake. Luckily, he didn't die, and luckily, he didn't transmigrate back." According to the doctor, if he had been brought in 5 minutes later, his life would have truly been in danger. Lying in a luxurious VIP hospital room, he listened to Sato tell him the entire story from beginning to end regarding Takashi Sugimoto. It turned out Takashi Sugimoto had been convicted, and he had bribed connections to prepare to flee abroad. Because he held a grudge against him for causing his ruin, he kept looking for an opportunity to murder him before going overseas. However, because he usually stayed at the company or in the city center where striking would easily lead to arrest, the man had waited for this opportunity. According to the man's plan, whether he succeeded or not, he could easily escape, whereas if he got stabbed, it would be difficult to receive timely medical treatment. He had to admit the man calculated very precisely, but right at that moment, the late-night snack he ordered was delivered, and the delivery driver, upon discovering him, immediately used his electric scooter to transport him to the film crew, who then used a car to take him to the nearest hospital, transferring him by helicopter after his condition stabilized. Sato had temporarily suspended filming the variety show to stay by his side and care for him. He had preserved his life, and as for Takashi Sugimoto's outcome, it went without saying, this time, no matter how firm his backing was, it could no longer protect him. President Sato, I don't want to go to work anymore. Can I ask you to raise me in the future? Looking at Sato, dressed in a silk nightgown, leisurely eating breakfast while he himself felt utterly sluggish, wearing a suit and preparing to head out, Sato had now established her own studio and started acting as a producer herself. She said that compared to standing in front of the camera, she preferred behind-the-scenes work. One couldn't help but marvel that a top student remained a top student wherever she went, as in less than a few years she had risen to become a true capitalist on her own. With her around, a film company boss, like him, became even more leisurely, but he could no longer run away with the money either. Sato stood on tiptoe to kiss him, then helped him adjust his tie, cooing. "Be good, President Rokuda. After finishing that interview today, we can go out to play," he asked. "Are you coaxing a child?" "This time I can't be like the last variety show, keeping my words as precious as gold again, right?" "I know!" He leaned down and gave her a deeper kiss, blocking the words she was about to say. During the years they spent together, the pressure of public opinion she endured was far greater than his. He had also personally experienced the upper class's obsession with matching family backgrounds. He didn't know if his mother had ever secretly met Sato and acted out the cliché drama of throwing a few million yen at her to force her away from her son, but Sato said no, which made both of them feel a bit regretful. Fortunately, no matter how many storms raged outside, they always trusted and understood each other. False rumors, scandals, and gossip surrounding their relationship constantly surrounded them. Yet relying on Sato, continuously proving her outstanding professional capabilities and winning countless major awards, combined with his continuous development and expansion of the company to hold more power and voice, malicious doubts and speculations on social media gradually turned into respect and blessings, and his parents no longer opposed him and Sato beneath the Temple of Poseidon. Watching the sunset fall over the Aegean Sea, they shared a passionate kiss under the vibrant pink sky as the domineering CEO and the female lead of this novel finally attained a happy and complete ending.